much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. It's bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you know what you gotta do, then do it. You're always making excuses, we ain't got time for no excuses. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. You niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. Young nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zone. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never change how my niggas from Potters. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no option. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave their family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you.
It's no competition. You niggas be lying about how you be feeling, saying you Jordan, you not even Pippin. Or Rodman when he was with Pistons. You blondie, you lying about all of your visions. Your paper be short like some midgets. I used to step out and just worry about digits, and now I just focus my visions. I had to distance myself from some people, cause they just be holding you back. I wasted some time, I never get back. Like why I do that? You niggas be bitching, it's just to be seen and put on the map. I only know some niggas who know how to spin up a check and get it right back.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition.
Gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy.
Zach. Oh. Just gotta focus on yourself out here.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Let's go. I make them hot. I make them shiver. Things get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Sing it with me, y'all. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. that mic flipped up.
Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Where we at here? Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Welcome everybody to another edition of The Blackout. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode, and I am joined by the one man in this space of the internet that you definitely do not want to walk into in a dark alley while you happen to be sitting on some bullshit because you might get murdered by his bare hands, the former fucking Texas Longhorn superstar, the man tackling apologist after apologist, coon after coon, like they have just taken a 3-step drop in a college football game in the middle of the 1980s. Boy, it is going down right now. How you doing today, Uncle Bobby?
My man, I'm doing all right. I still say this is the best intro in the, I mean...
Man, like it says, there's no competition.
I'm none. Zero. The Heartbreak Kid intro is absolutely fucking on point. I absolutely love it. I still get it.
I appreciate you. Hey, you got something to drink over there?
Don't make me say that was a stupid question. You're goddamn right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into this communion. Please raise your glasses.
All right.
And hold on to your asses.
There it is.
Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who fight for our sins forever and ever. You may drink.
All right. What's in your glass this time?
I got some Two-Hearted Ale, some craft beer, some morally superior alcohol.
Now you're talking.
Some expensive shit.
You are finally starting to step your game up. I did not think I would be going through Hendrix this fast, but yeah.
Now, see, that's the problem. You need to step your game up when you drink with Uncle Bobby. You got to spend some ducats.
Yes.
Okay, but then that good alcohol goes down a lot easier, a lot faster, and then you got to spend some more ducats.
You do. And as cheap as I am, is like, holy shit. But the stuff is delicious. Absolutely delicious.
Absolutely.
And it is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it.
Uncle Bobby, we got to light up. Do you mind if we hit this Cheers theme song one time?
Come on. I love that too. Let's do
it. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where
That never gets old.
Yeah, Tongue's
That never
amazing.
gets old.
All right, gang, before we get started, let's just go through the chat real quick so we can get to know all of your names. Let's see, we've got Look at the Trees, Anthony Ray, Melody Joy, YouTube Punk. Let me see. I think I have the chat from both channels.
Paulie's here.
Non-believer. YouTube. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I'll be messing with YouTube Punk. Pragmatic Crystals in the house. Logan Fisher. Chat GPT. RJ Bettis Dumas. Logan Fisher. Oh, we got Gin and Truth in the chat, man. Everybody's in the chat. I appreciate y'all so much for being here. Those of you that are OGs and those of you that are new, we appreciate it just the same. All right, Uncle Bobby. Man,
that's the squid.
Who's the squid? Hey,
I won't say it, but I think that was the squid.
Oh, the squid. Oh. Oh.
Yep.
Damn. Well, got to have squid in the house. All right.
All right. Where are we?
We're gonna get into this Amala from PragerU chat on Colorism. So what do you initially think when you just hear Amala, PragerU, racism, Colorism?
I've got a soft spot for the kid. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
and when I listen to her videos and when I've done shows on her stuff, I'm not gonna lie. I've had a harder than normal time pulling full chainsaw mode on her, and I don't know why, but I think that's kind of part of her hook.
In an alternate reality, she's one of your students. Is that what it is? Like you see her potentially, she could walk in the door any day?
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. I don't give a shit. I mean, I've ripped some fuckface Frank Turks female proteges, but I think putting her up front like that, PragerU knew what they were doing. Right? Here's this young black woman, and yes, she's of biracial descent, but you know the rule. One drop, done.
She counts.
Yep. And yeah. And they put her out there, and I'm telling you, it takes the bite out of my attack a little bit. But she's still sitting on some bullshit, and every time I've done one of her videos, it's like, how much of this is an act versus how much of this is just being so young that she's too ignorant to know better than to hold some of these beliefs.
Right.
Because again, when you find yourself echoing the sentiment of like a Dennis Prager and people like that,
Candace
Matt
Owens
Walsh,
in the club,
Candace Owens, you're just like, there's a part of me that wonders, is she so young that she does not have the defenses necessary to tell people like this to go fuck themselves?
Right.
You know, that's, and don't get me wrong, my videos on her have been critical, but I have not been as hard on her as I have others. But when I hear her talk about colorism, I wonder how much of this is just ignorance talking.
Yeah. Also, it'll be interesting to hear how she brings her own experience into the conversation, because I think that may reflect some of that. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I feel especially committed to beating down women on the internet. But seriously, I feel the same thing, and so I'm trying to always be like, well, no, y'all putting her out here, right? Like you put her out here, we gotta pay attention to her and rip into her, but. You know, especially speaking to the age and experience thing, not that it's any excuse, but when I look at someone like her, I think I treat all people under 25 or around that age with a bit of like, you just became an adult yesterday, leeway type situation because they look like my students. You know,
exactly.
And it wouldn't, not a whole lot of circumstances would have to change before I'd be, you know, grading these people's papers. And You know, when I talk to my students, they say stuff all the time that makes it real clear where they're at, you know? So, yeah, that's the tough part. But yeah, you want to go ahead and get into this tape, man?
Yeah, let's roll the fucking tape.
Let's roll this fucked up ass tape.
It's back, and this time it's not about feminism, it's not about racism, it's about colorism. Let's get into it.
All right, there's no to the music. You say no to that.
These often get a little spicy. It's a good thing we have Taylor, Nashville Hot Taylor, on the show today.
It's a good thing you drugged me into another contentious conversation about colorism. My straight white male self is very looking forward to talking about this. Not really.
Here we go.
I honestly can't think of a better person. And speaking of colored people,
all right, pause the tape already. Pause the tape. Pause the tape. Okay, this is already sitting on some bullshit. She brought, and listen to how he said it. Right? You brought the straight white Christian male. But again, first and foremost, to my straight cisgendered male, you're not a fucking victim. You're just not. So stop with this attitude like, there's that t-shirt. I'm straight, I'm a Christian, I'm white, and I'm a male. How else can I piss you off today? Save it. Save it. Because all the people who think like that, you would not last 5 seconds with my dad's memories. So stop that bullshit right now. But 2, imagine if you and me, Bundy, sat here and we had a conversation about pregnancy and menstruation. And when a woman wanted to step in and be like, yeah, it's really like, no, you don't seem to understand. This is why are you bringing this white dude in here to talk about colorism? That's just already a bad optic as far as I'm concerned.
It does have a bad optic, and sometimes you only have around you who's around you, right? And I was speaking to this recently, so it's like you want, for instance, the straight fam to be able to represent the conversation correctly when they're the only people in the room. But yeah, and here's the thing that's so weird about all this. The first thing is, man, I understand when people don't have the perspective of other people around, so they try to represent it. But when it would be super easy for them to include those particular voices and they just don't, it's especially insulting. And then there's like so many other things where right and wrong, true and untrue matters. So if y'all are sitting around having the conversation and we're from the outside, holy shit, they didn't even include us in the conversation, but they get it right. We're like, great. When they don't include us and then they fuck it up.
Now.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, you and I it is well within our rights to sit here and talk about the struggles of our trans family members. But when one of our trans family members tells us, you know what? Good
I'm
enough.
hopping in today.
Now go ahead and take a seat and let the veteran talk about it. We need to shut the fuck up and let the veteran talk about it.
That's
right?
yeah.
So that's absolutely what this is setting up. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into it. Oh, Uncle Bobby. Also, I gotta put you on game with the screen here.
Oh. Yeah, I'm looking at the video.
You've been look at that. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Now we're better.
I've just been doing you dirty. All types of bad
now
things.
you're hashtag unprofessional.
Please don't. Yeah, seriously. Please don't beat me up after school.
You will not get beaten up. All right.
So white. Nothing more to be said there, guys. Let's get into this Vice debate. It's titled Minorities Debate, Skin Bleaching, Appropriation, and Colorism. Let's watch.
That is a very clear experience, an example of colorism. Like, it is real. It happens.
When you're lighter, people treat you differently.
Like, that's what I think this conversation really needs to center on. Why is it societally that being lighter skinned has very clear material advantages?
That's easy.
So far, so good.
This is Vice invited people of color from across the country to discuss colorism. For those of you who are like, what the hell is colorism? So it's different than racism. Colorism can happen, in and amongst different races where you're actually judged based on the lightness or the darkness of your skin tone. A lot of people say it's preferable to be of a lighter skin tone because you're going to get preferential treatment. You're treated better. People are more intrigued by you. You get more opportunities. And that is this idea of colorism. We'll see if it goes in the opposite direction during this talk, although I have a feeling if we have a lot of progressives on this debate, it will not go in the other direction, meaning that Black people can also be colorist towards,
Okay, she's already sitting on some bullshit. So there's nothing wrong with what she just previously described. Not a damn thing. But now it's like, well, if there's some progressive, it was like, this is what I'm saying. She may be too young. And maybe this lesson is not being passed down past Generation X Black people. Now, for those of you who are not aware, Generation X Black people, just so you guys know, we are the first generation of Black folks born in this country with full civil rights. I've got a cousin who's in her mid-60s. Tina's not Generation X. I was born with rights that my first cousin didn't have. Y'all understand me? Wow. So stop acting like this is 5 billion years ago. Tina had to walk into the back of the building. I was allowed to walk in the front of the building. Colorism is real, and it is rooted all the way back to fucking slavery. So when the slave master came down, didn't have sex with, but raped the Black slave, that child was of biracial mix. Now, that child was given preferential treatment more times than not. The lighter skin you were, the more white the more kind of white features you had, the blondes and the flavonoids, that you were just a little bit closer to perfection and a little further bit away from being a nigger.
Right.
You got to eat in the big house. You got better clothing, all that stuff. I would have been considered a buck. I'm dark. I'm big. I'm strong. I'm as good as that fucking wheelbarrow out there. Now, if the squid is still sitting in the side chat, she's got good hair. She's got better looking eyes than I got. She would have been valued more than me. You guys see what I'm saying? Now, fast forward all the way up to the 80s, where I was a child. That shit was still in full effect. And if y'all remember the movie School Days, that's what that movie spoke about. We were still dark skin versus light skin. I grew up, even within my own community, I was pretty much considered deformed. I was dark, I had big ass, and I got full lips. And so this isn't a progressive versus conservative argument. This is something with real historical foundations. So I already don't like where she's going. I had to throw that in there.
The other thing is it's distinct but not separate from racism. It's a reflection of and deeply tied to racism. That's sort of the flavor, the strongest flavor in the soup. That's why it's preferential to be one tone or another is because how those tones are associated with racial preferences. And so you can have within the cultures versus between the cultures distinction here, right? And say, colorism happens within non-Black communities and within Black communities and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And yes, it is sociologically distinct, therefore, from racism, classically speaking. But let's make sure we don't wander too far down the road of separation, because that would be missing sort of the real critical commentary of why this is going on and what the association is. What's the problem?
Absolutely.
Like what's the big deal with having dark skin? And it's what you said. It's a little bit more towards perfection and away from being a Negro. And why is that an issue? Oh, racism. Oh, you know what I mean? So it's it'll be interesting to see again what she has to say about that.
She's gonna fuck it up. Yeah, let's roll it. She's gonna screw it up.
Lighter skinned people.
Oh, far.
lot of pink today. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Alexis Johnson. I'm a correspondent with Vice News, and I'll also be acting as our moderator for today's panel. We first want to put out the disclaimer that, we've done our best to get you all here today of different ethnicities, different shades, different skin tones to talk about this topic, but we realize we can't represent everybody in this discussion, okay? Today we're going to be discussing a topic that, as a...
He is beautiful.
Pretty.
He's a little model.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, way to
black
go.
woman moving throughout the world. It's something that I think about a lot. It's something that I hear being discussed a lot, both...
Hang on a sec. Let's do this.
in real life, online, in the media. Today we're here to talk about colorism. What is colorism and how do you define it?
I gave my
Hi,
definition.
my name is Koa and I identify as biracial. I think about colorism as...
I identify as biracial? You just are biracial. This is a weird thing when I hear people talk about race to be like, I identify as Iraqi or I identify as Indian. No, you don't. You are. You just are that.
But which means you identify as
a distinct hierarchy that is anchored in a proximity to whiteness.
Interesting. I think colorism is internalized racism. I'm Calvin West, and I am an American.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Maya. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm Black. So I actually think that colorism existed before racism, and the fact that historically, for example, if you look at Europe or Asia, like serfs, peasants, people who were in the lower classes had to work and toil in the sun, and those who were royalty or aristocrats or whatever tend to be lighter skin. And so there has historically been a privileging of lighter skin over darker skinned individuals. But I think that with the onset of global white supremacy fueled by European colonialism, 1492 onward, it was an absorbed
Pink is bringing the funk. Holy shit. Go on, girl.
Yeah. And also, I
was
wanted
about to say,
fuck
holy
yes.
crap, way to go.
Holy shit. But also, like, it made me think of religion, right? Because we sometimes have these conversations about passages of the Bible or whatever, like the anti-queer passages or people trying to discuss slavery in the Bible or racism in the Bible or and I always say look at the culture it's coming out of. Exactly. Right? And so to me there's no doubt that that culture was misogynistic. There's no doubt that culture had bigotries according to skin color, right? There's no doubt that those cultures were homophobic and anti-queer. And so it's kind of cringe that people want to act like you're making an interpretation mistake when you read this fucking shit in the text. You're like, no, it's right there in the text. And that's obviously the culture it was coming out of. Like, what do you mean? Like, of course, when homophobes write something homophobic, they intended to be homophobic. Well, are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, so far, this is... I guess the hard part about listening to this is they really haven't said anything wrong. I mean, we're only a couple minutes into this. But so far, they really haven't said much wrong. Pink brought the funk. Amala kind of brought some knowledge earlier. I'm still waiting to see how she's going to fuck this up.
Yeah, me too.
But so far, I'm saying okay.
So far, so good. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll see. I have my prediction is gonna be when she tries to tie it to our current social war, social cultural war woke agenda. But
how long? I'm about to say, how long before we hear woke, triggered, CRT? I'm gonna have to get a refill because we drink the Republican buzzwords. Let's roll it. Let's see how far.
It's just 14
we're gonna need it.
didn't exist before. We don't have to worry about that. She is right in a lot of what she said historically. If you look at India and their system, their very old school system of the hierarchy of skin color, with the darkest people being noted as the untouchables, there is a very clear and distinct difference in the way that people of different shades are treated historically in many different countries. So that's something to talk about. I'm wondering if we're ever going to get into any discussions of it happening.
Well, black people said he was American. Facts.
I'll leave it open. Hopefully they do.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. I identify as Iranian. As someone who's from like an Asian country.
I identify as Iranian. What?
She really hates that.
That wasn't
She
technically
hates that
colonized.
word.
We even have colorism and that idea even without people coming in and telling us that. So it's almost like a preconceived idea that's in our heads.
I'm a mixed race Puerto Rican. And in the Latina community, you can understand that very much as a caste system where there is no shame to address darker skinned people by slurs.
Okay. There are personal consequences for colorism.
Actually, in most of these cultures, there's words, right? There's unique slurs for people of darker skin or even sometimes lighter skin. But so that's a really good point to bring up. Definitely vocabulary for that.
Consequences, and colorism has implications for public health, beauty, and all sorts of things in society.
Okay. So you said that you feel like it is internalized racism?
The blackest experience any black person can have is another black person telling them that they aren't black. And that is something that happens to lighter skinned black people. Because there's this...
Go ahead.
He's absolutely right. And I think you and I have hit on this before.
Yeah.
When I was in the 7th and 8th grade, I fucking hated life. I did. I looked like everyone else. I didn't sound necessarily like everyone. It was a real confusing time. You're like, these are the people I should be able to lean on. And again, you're just like, you're not black enough. You sound white, and the blahs and the flavonoids. And as a kid, there's really no defense because you're still trying to fit in. And as much as I didn't care to fit in, because again, like I said, there's no jokes about it. The only person I've ever truly cared about pleasing was my mom. But if I sat here and I told you it didn't sting a little bit, I would be lying. I would be lying. And for the people who really, 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 really wanted to fit in, but couldn't because you didn't talk the quote unquote correct way or whatever the fuck. Now, I feel that pain. I absolutely feel that pain. And and when it comes colorism, whatever the fuck you want to call it, there is some internalized hatred. And especially when you don't realize that there is no one standard of black. The black person that was raised in Harlem is just as black as the person raised in the Hamptons. They may not sound the same. They may not act the same, but you're still black. So I dig on what they're saying right there.
And in my family, we have the full spectrum. We have people in my family that are literally as black as this mouse, and people that can pass if they wanted to. So it's something, that's, been talked about and you can see in the family. It's really interesting. My grandmother's light skin. Her brother's very, very light skin. My mother's actually quite a bit lighter than I am. So it's interesting. The other thing I was gonna say is coming up, with the whole not black enough thing. I was talking about this, I think last night on the stream, about how for me, I got it from the black people in my life who because I kind of grew up in like a suburbs of the Poconos and I went to all white schools and shit like that. It was, that means I was mostly getting that pushback from my family, be it my step siblings or my cousins or, just different people that were actually my family. So it had that extra sting to it, right? Of holy shit, this is coming from the people that are supposed to be my support system. And something I haven't spoken to yet, but I will now, is there was sort of an irony in it because my genuine perspective at the time was I recognized that I was quote unquote lucky, right? I was in a good situation, right? I didn't live in the hood and I went to private schools and I lived in a gated community. Okay, all right, fine. But at the same time, what I felt inside was, at least for a lot of my family members that, you know, grew up in urban parts of Jersey, because that's mostly what I was dealing with, it was like, at least your blackness is safe day to day. So it's like the irony is just like you live in mostly black areas and go to mostly black schools. And so the one thing people are probably like not singling you out for every single day of your fucking life in your school is the fact that you're black. Whereas for me, it's like the fact that I'm black is like the thing that causes me trauma every day. Like, and so it felt ironic, like, because of course you know, you grow up and you understand, again, like the privilege associated with it and the fact that, you know, the lives of everybody is a result of the, you know, structural and institutional racism, right? But growing up, I did feel that sort of resentment where it's like, how dare you tell me I'm not black, or literally I'm not safe because I'm black every single day. Like, it was just, just like, what do you mean? Like, so that
like,
was very hurtful.
What else do we have to do?
Yeah.
To prove. And the fucked up, the proof that we were black enough would be to do something negative. And that's where the internal hatred comes in, where it's like, okay, again, the black person whose pants sag underneath their ass cheeks, their credit's so bad they have to put the utilities in their mother's name. They just all this fucked up shit. That person has never had their blackness questioned a day in their life.
Right.
You've got a PhD. I've got a bachelor's.
Yeah.
And it's like, in some way, somehow, that's not black enough.
Right.
And it's not just coming from the outside. The fucked up part is that it's coming from within our own community.
Yeah.
Where, again, the black person who sees the black person behind bars talking Ebon or whatever the fuck the term is, their blackness is never questioned. Barack Obama runs for president of the United States, and a portion of our own community said, he doesn't represent us. He's not black enough. This man is worth millions. He's married to a beautiful woman.
They did that shit to Tiger Woods, though.
Yeah. Michelle Obama stands on her own. She's smart as shit. They've got two beautiful ass kids. There's not a mark anywhere on either one of their ledgers. And we sat there and we legitimately said, he's not black enough.
Right.
That's an internal hatred that we need to deal with as a people.
Yeah. And it does play out with, you know, the skin color thing as well, right? That sort of desire to exclude, you know, darker people, that looking down upon people simply for having dark skin, which is crazy. Like, it's wild, but yeah, man. So far, you know, nothing outrageous other than Amala doesn't really like when people say they identify as something, which I think is just
conservative 101.
It's just conservative.
That speaks to assigned male at birth, but I identify as female. They, them, non-binary. So again, that's just her picking on just the
language. The word, using the word identity equals identity politics to them.
Right. And she's smart enough to know that. It's like when some say I'm openly conservative or I'm openly Christian. They are very well aware of the weight that comes with the word openly.
Right.
And it's like, please go fuck yourself. There's no struggle in being a Christian in this country.
Right.
So it's, I identify as that. That's another way for them to pull a word out of the vernacular, mutate the definition, throw it back in. So now anytime someone says, I identify as,
right.
Like, oh, what? You're a progressive, you're liberal. It's just, that's all that bullshit was.
Yeah.
Let's see what else she has to say. She's terrible.
Idea, and that I've lived a different life because I'm a lighter skin. And that, to me, is the most anti-Black thing you can do to anybody.
I have a feeling that he's going to be our conservative opinion on this specific topic so far, just based off what he said, because he says, I'm getting invalidated because I'm a lighter skinned Black person and being told that my experience isn't Black enough. So I have a feeling that he's going to be on the outskirts.
He also introduced himself as an American, if you noticed that.
I caught that.
I thought was definitely a tell that he is a sitting racist in this panel.
But that's a tell that he's racist?
This is the problem. Why do you have this white fuckface from PragerU? Hanging the asterisks when I say white fuckface. But when this fuckface, this is what validates, because again, no matter what he says, he can't be racist because Amala laughed at what he said. But I caught the fact that he said, I identify as an American. I caught the fact that he's the one that bringing up the clash between our own people. Now, that is something that needs to be solved within our own house. This dude with his fucked up ass smile in his eyes, going over there and bid 2 when you're playing spades, when you got nothing but fucking spades. Go on over there and put fucking raisins in your fucking meatloaf recipe. Just go over there. That is a problem for you and me, Bundy, to figure out.
Right.
But they've set this dynamic duo up because now there's nothing he can say now that's racist.
Right.
Because Amala is going to agree with everything he has to say. And that's the problem with these type of conversations.
Yes. And
there's
then,
2 people in it that should not be a part of it.
And it also shows you the fucked up ass game that they play with identity politics, because they're the ones that go all day long. Every single Martin Luther King Day on schedule, the Republicans are coming out. And Dr. King said we should be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. And then they'll play Black people just talking about being Black, and then they'll be like, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. When are we going to stop talking about our skin color? We're all just Americans, we're all just Americans, we're all just Americans. Fly the flag, fly the flag, fly the flag. And then let one Black person say, hi, I'm Jay Bundy and I see myself as an American. What? Get that racist monkey up out of here. Let one Black person one time I just identify as an American and they will lose their... Wait, what happened?
And therein lies the problem. Anytime, especially at work, when someone quotes Martin Luther King, the whole content of their character, I asked him, name something else he said. What did he say 5 minutes before that? Now tell me what he said 5 days after that. They can't do it. What they don't realize, when you take that quote in context, when you listen to the entirety of the speech, he's talking about people like this. He's talking about people like this. And when I did my video on that fuckface, sitting here talking, complaining about the Black national anthem, here's the thing. I'm not going to be an American on your fucking terms.
Right.
I've already tried that, and it got the skin torn off my fucking back.
Wow.
So when you sit here and you say, well, there should only be one, national anthem. Just identify as an American. Stop telling me how to be a fucking American.
Absolutely.
We've tried that, and it fucking failed. They shot my dad in the fucking arm. If the guy was any better aim, I wouldn't be here. They killed my grandfather because he had the audacity to lynch Black people down from trees. You don't get to tell me how to be an American.
Right.
I find this insulting beyond measure. This is garbage. And the fact that these two fuckfaces are sitting up here having this, they're allowed to,
Right.
just like you and I are allowed to sit here and rip them a new booty hole.
Exactly.
This is garbage. Again, he belongs in this conversation as much as I belong in the conversation on what someone who has the ability to give birth should do with their meat.
Right.
He does not belong here. Roll
Absolutely.
this fucked up ass tape so I can see what he has to say.
He's
this
anti-black.
dude is.
What are your thoughts on that? Sorry, I saw you had a little bit of a reaction.
Oh,
there.
me?
Yeah.
So I think often when lighter-skinned people talk about experiencing bias from darker-skinned people, I think that my first thought is just like, remember that colorism is an ism. And like when something has that ISM, it means institutional power.
Yep.
Plus prejudice.
Here we
go.
Darker-skinned people.
Wait.
Here we go.
When a word has ism at the end of it, it means institutionalized power. Wait, I want to hear exactly what she said again. Exactly what she said.
Just like remember that colorism is an ism. And like when something has that ISM, it means institutional power plus prejudice.
No, God, please.
What seems to be the problem? What seems to be the
She just Amala is objecting to A, B, and C are letters from the alphabet.
I need another drink. This little girl's gonna piss me the fuck off. What? I don't remember getting her name, so I'm just gonna call her Pink.
Pink.
Pink said nothing wrong. She's absolutely right.
Again,
and the fucked
I don't
up
know
thing
what the hell
about
I'm talking about.
Yeah, what the fucked up thing about Amala is like fuckface Chris being able to sit there with your soundboard and pipe in this shit and look at her fucked up ass face. Right? It's like, well, if Uncle Bobby, who's bad at math, says 2 + 2 is 4, she can do the exact, pipe into sounds. What? And her face will be like, what? There's nothing I said that was wrong. 2 + 2 is 4.
Right.
What
Exactly.
is spot the fuck on. But the thing is, you dial in to Prager University to hear people like Amala take facts and wipe her ass with it.
100%.
I mean, this is garbage. And again, this is why they put her up front.
Right.
Because people like me don't step on the gas pedal. I'll bash Turk. I'll fuck you, fuck face, fuck knuckle.
Right.
But I look at her,
Right.
especially with my background, I look at her and I was like, that could have been my kid. I mean,
right.
Look at her. And she's a former leftist. She was part of BLM.
Yeah.
She's got tattoos.
Right.
Now she's a hardcore
Her
conservative
bona fide
Christian.
sympathetics.
Right. And so they put her out front. So people like me, the wick gets taken out of the dynamite.
Yeah.
I'll body slam the shit out of Dennis Prager.
Right.
But even I step on the brake pad
Right.
when it comes to this girl.
Right.
That was. I'm just gonna shut up.
And I hate this. I'm with it now, y'all. I'm gonna just say it. The solution for her, they don't like it. Here comes a Republican buzzword. She needs a re-education campaign. I said it. I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and cancel me. Go ahead. I said it.
We drink Republican buzzwords.
Facts.
With what I have left.
Who said that? Where did you guys learn that in school? That if something has ism at the end of it, that's what that means?
Oh yeah, when I learned about
Skepticism.
botulism in biology class.
I was learning about all the things y'all didn't learn in school.
Yeah, you know what? Like skepticism, cynicism, agnosticism, like all these different. There's so many. Yeah,
boy.
Yeah.
Like, these are all.
Here we go.
Yeah, that doesn't make
Very
sense. I get what she's
clever.
trying to say. She's trying to throw it in the camp of like colorism, racism, feminism.
Oh, did you get what she was trying to do? Then why did you misrepresent what she was trying to do? Never mind.
It is very much not true. And what is really unfortunate about that is you're going to hear that a lot, that if something has an ism at the end of it, it means it's part of an institution or a system of power and privilege. That is absolutely false. That has never, ever been something that we've truly taught people up until the past 5-10 years. That is not true, guys. Not true.
But there's the problem. She's too young. It's like the fuck face from Sports Wars when I did my video on him. Right? The flag, the anthem stands for everybody. Right. You say that when you were born in 2005.
Right.
The anthem does not represent everybody. The flag does not represent everybody.
Absolutely.
It does not. We are still playing a tremendous game of catch up. And just 100%. Like when I did my video on the Officer Tatum, right? You know, name one way racism. Blah, 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 blah. It's like again, my mom was still alive, which means this is less than 2 years old. For those of you that are not aware who did not catch my other video, the Crown Law is less than 2 years old. The Crown Law states that me and Bundy, we're allowed to grow out of our face and out of our head what naturally grows.
That's so crazy.
Up until 2 years ago, Black people, we needed legal protection to grow our facial hair the way it grows, to grow what comes out of our... We needed legal protection. So when I said, oh, America's for everybody, really, where's the law that says that again, I hate, and I hated it long before it was popular. That Tucker Carlson haircut, I hated it. It looks fucking terrible. Tucker Carlson and all those white fraternity boys, they didn't need legal protection. Me and Bundy needed protection.
Right.
Under the law. Right? So again, it's like, is it their age that makes them sound like this? So when she sits there and says what she says, it's like my first instinct is to intellectually kick her in her chest and say, kid, shut your mouth. You've got no idea. But again, this is why PragerU puts people like this out in front. I mean,
yeah,
that was all garbage. Yeah. I'm going to get so mad. I can't even.
Well, I'm with it. You know why? Because I need this from you. She's in the game now. She stepped in the ring. And she's doing this for a living. And not just her, but this is the game we're in, right? Like these people are sophisticated, right? As much as we think they're morons, and they are for not seeing the bigger picture, but they have a degree of organizational sophistication. They're always going to be trying to stay at the forefront of how to stay relevant and what's the newest platform and, you know, how do you get to people. It's like when you go to a church, man, like you got to really go to a church sometimes because you see how deep it goes, how sophisticated the show is, how they always have the, attractive, charismatic people and how they woo you in with the group. And you go, man, we're up against a lot, right? And so...
Nailed it.
She's in the ring now. You know what I mean? And she's out here. She intends to do damage and throw punches and fight against what we're about. And so I feel you because I'm on the same thing. I'm like, I pay more attention to so many other people who are not nearly having this kind of reach and impact. But I feel you, man. It's a real struggle, right?
It is. And now I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to do a show on her.
Yeah,
where
it's gonna be a great one. That'll be crazy.
And it brings me no pleasure.
Yeah, that's what it's like sometimes.
But yeah, it is because again, this is what. Do you know how much attention I would get if I out of nowhere said I was a born again Christian again?
A born again Christian.
Right. If I said it was like, oh, all this atheism stuff, it's a total worldview. I love Jesus again. Do you know how many people on YouTube would book me for an interview?
Yeah. You could come and talk about the religion of scientism.
I've got the atheist, tattoo. I've got the inside track. I'm the guy to book now. Let's talk to Robert Reed. He was a born-again Christian. He used to be an atheist. Now he loves God again. That's what this is. She's a biracial descent. She knows what it feels like to be shit on for not being all the way black, not being all the way the white. apparently she was part of Black Lives Matter, all that stuff.
Right.
Now she's flipped, and she's flipped so far, she's now under PragerU. Right? They put her out in front to take the teeth out of the bite, like people like you and I. And I'm glad I'm doing this video as much as I'm about to have a fucking stroke, because now I'm starting to realize I need to be just as hard on her regardless of her age. Because again, what she's spitting just straight bullshit. She is.
Well, Uncle Bobby, see what you just did right there is we're trying to unpack the fact that ageism is a prejudice plus an institutionalized power, right? And that's what it is sometimes, right? It's the same way they're going, man, it's so disgusting, but Nikki Haley or whoever is running for president basically said,
I'm taking the gloves off.
We're going to have a cognitive test for older politicians. Fuck no, we're not. No, we're not. Shut that shit down. No, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. You smart enough to get people to vote for you, end of story. Shut up. No, we're not gonna do that. But yeah, there's certain, ways in which, or the same way we'll say, oh, they're from a different generation. Don't go too hard on them because they're from a different time, and they didn't manage. Okay, I see that they didn't manage to grow with everybody else from that generation, but don't go too hard on them because they're from a different time. We're doing that same thing now. We're like, well, these fucked up ass kids, they don't know shit yet, and there is real sympathy there that we shouldn't betray. And it's almost like, look, there's sometimes you're looking for reasons to give people a chance. And so thinking somebody's young and maybe, that's a reality. They've lived a lot fewer days than other people. And so, you give them a chance to work things out. But again, with her, it's like, you're in the game. You're fully committed. You're a PragerU star. You're out here, bringing the heat and getting spicy on the on the opposition. So it kind of is what it is. We've got to kind of just be realistic about. All right, she stepped in the ring. She's asking for it, and
pretty much.
It doesn't mean I wouldn't
treat her like an equal.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I wouldn't sit her down and maybe try to have a friendlier conversation off air sometime, but.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. And I think about, at least the way I was brought up, Generation Black dude. The cat daddies, the old heads, the OGs, they were harder on us than they were people outside of our circle.
Mm.
And you learn, and by today's standards, you probably can't, but it's like, I'm hard on you because I care about you. I'm going to smack you upside your fucking skull because you got to learn this shit. You got to learn what kind of world that after I'm gone, you need to be able to survive in this world. So, everyone else is going to see what I did, and smack you upside your head and said, if you don't sit your monkey ass down and listen what the fuck it is I got to say, everyone else sees that as abuse, but that is love, believe it or not. And when I say smack you backside, I'm talking about fucking metaphorically.
Of course.
But it's like you're harder on those that you care about because you care enough to help them improve.
Right.
Fire forges steel.
Right.
You want big muscles? You got to suffer, Jack. You got to lift some big shit. If you want to be able to retire early, that means you got to do without, some of the shit that there is no progress without cost, right? And so, we're being hard on. I hope I'm saying her name right, on Amala, and again, the softness is because she looks like me, but I am now openly admitting, not just with her, but other people, you got to step on the gas pedal.
Yes. So
you got to be hard on people like this because these cats need to improve. Because when I don't have the ability to wipe my own ass and put the strained peas in my mouth, she's going to be the one to help me out with that.
Yeah. So in Gather, Carrie Ann also said that they should know Hitler's speeches to be able to identify how excellent hate-filled ideas can sound with charisma. I gotta admit that I really, like, probably maybe when I first started doing some of this content, I'm having a hard remembering exactly how long ago it was, but it was definitely within the last year. I went on a serious Hitler binge. For those that don't know, I tend to, like, watch the same thing every night for, like, a while, like, whatever my groove is, unless something special pops up.
Me.
You know, like, right now I'm watching Pride fights, so it's just, like, it's Pride every night after when I'm ready to go to bed. But yeah, I went through a World War II phase and I was watching stuff about Hitler, and that's what amazed me, right? Is like literally, you know those scenes where you see like the Backstreet Boys are in sync in a music video and they're running down the street and there's this crowd of screaming girls and they're just fucking, you know, they're running after them like they're the Beatles and they just want to rip their clothes off. And you see the documentaries, like their bus, they have to have security and a police escort because the fans are just screaming and crying and needing to get at them. I am telling you right now, the Backstreet Boys, In Sync, who's the ones now? B2K, I don't know, what's the fucking, whatever the fucking K-pop group, the fucking K-pop group, whatever the new star is, because I don't know what the fuck the good music is now. But look, I'm telling you, they have shit on Adolf fucking Hitler. Adolf fucking Hitler would be giving these fucking speeches for like hundreds of thousands of people and they're all just fucking going crazy. And when his car would be riding down the street, people would be like filling the fucking streets like a ticker tape parade. And literally women would be climbing the fucking poles, like the light poles and shit, just to get a better view of the fucking Führer coming down and shit. I don't know what celebrity you think is popular, but they ain't have shit on Hitler. And that's what we have to, that's the scary part about human nature is exactly how does this type of monstrosity becomes so attractive to us that we just give these hate-filled monsters platforms and power, and it's so crazy. All right, but here's the other thing you had me thinking about, bro, which is her bona fides. If a voice has that much more impact, if you know, it's like her backstory makes her even more powerful.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not just the age and the present. It's literally what you're talking about. The fact that she was like, oh, I used to be Black Lives Matter and I'm biracial and I'm, you know, and now just like the Candace Owens, just like the, you know, Officer Tatums of the world, it's like they're the ones who are given the permission to the people who have real, you know, harmful intentions to do what they're doing because they're like, oh no, you're good with me. Oh, you know, I'm on your side. These people are just choosing to be offended and, you know, choosing to play identity politics and this. So they're feeding them all their buzzwords. And I got to be honest with you, even for a lot of well-intentioned allies, that shit becomes confusing. I'll give you an example in my own life. Like I was kind of on some fucked up shit about trans women in sports. My background as a, you know, I have a master's in biological anthropology, studying sex differences, and like that was literally our field. And so I knew that data of upper body strength and muscle mass and, you know, physical performance, right? And so when people first started to say, oh, you know, there's issues with, you know, trans women in sports, I would start that conversation from the place of like, oh yeah, we might need to do something there. There's a serious problem there, right? And I saw myself as a vociferous ally. Like, I will fight you on some queer shit, like, right now. You know what I mean? But I was mistaken on that because I was susceptible to thinking I was hearing from people who were concerned and playing it the right way and had the expertise.
Absolutely.
And it made me
Absolutely.
and it took having some of my new trans friends being like, wait, you do realize there's organized competitive bodies that do this shit for a living. Of course. Yeah, why didn't I think about that? Yeah, you know, the Olympics committees, yeah, they figured this shit out. Oh, yeah, did they? Yeah, of course they would. They're probably on top of it. Yeah, and then you know what they said? Yeah, they said you got to just let people compete, and it doesn't matter if they're trans or not at all, unless we can demonstrate that they have an unfair advantage or it's dangerous for everybody participating. I was like, yeah. So the point should be, we should be starting from, we include everybody in sports, period, end of story. And I was like, yeah. I literally was starting at the wrong place because I was listening to the wrong voices.
But there's what you just demonstrated is what they call a pejorative. That you just demonstrated being a progressive. You took in new information and then you changed.
Right.
Again, the age-old adage still stands. It's not where you start, but it's how you finish.
Right.
Because we could probably go back and forth all day long on shit. It was like, I remember I used to have this mindset. I had this mindset.
Right.
I used to say this. I used to say that.
Right.
Then someone did like that, and now I've got some information. I'm like, oh, holy shit. People can change.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her.
Absolutely.
This is the conundrum with Amala. This is now the new Amala conundrum. Because I'm looking at someone who, again, I'm looking right at her, and with my background, this, and I know people are gonna get mad, but fuck y'all, I'm fucking 50. I can say it. This kid could be my child. And with my background, that child could be my child. She could. I guarantee you, she could be my daughter. And I'm sitting here, and it's like, because I think about what I sounded like when I was her age. I definitely called gay people faggot.
Days. Oh man.
Yeah, I was sitting in Dad's house not too long ago, and I'm sitting here and I'm going through stuff because it's it's time to clear out the house, and I found my first 2 Bibles. My first 2. I found my first 2 Bibles. And I'm sitting there and I think about all right. Someone needs to make a GIF or a GIF or whatever out of what the hell just happened. That was good. Well, what got you? The fact that I found my first 2 Bibles?
I couldn't go down. It couldn't go down.
Hold on. I'll take a drink to that moment right there. Hold on.
Oh, man.
I got smart and I got tissue in here. Hold on.
Oh, shit.
I found my very first 2 Bibles. There were those little, it could fit in my hand. They were the color red. And I think about who it is I used to be versus who it is I am right now. I took in new information and I changed.
Right.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm listening to her talk. And I'm wondering, will she be that same person when she's my age? When she's my aunt's age? Will she sound the exact same way?
Right.
So, yeah, let's see what else she has to say.
Couple quick things. So, the problem is she's on the payroll. And I don't mean that, I mean, personally, it's just, man, it makes it that much harder to see the light when you're being paid not to. And then it's like, I would love to see her personal growth because, she is so young, she could change. But at the same time, it's making it that much harder for other people to change because she's not lending her weight and her platform to the cause. We're anti-racist or get off the stage, and she's enabling the bigots, right? And so
no question.
There's again that tension. Really interesting. All right, we can go ahead.
Darker-skinned people as a class of people do not have the ability, the institutional power to, for example,
Dancing
put you
for
in
butter
prison
biscuits,
for longer
RJ
sentences
Bettis.
because of being lighter skinned or, having less access to employment. There's actual statistics where like a darker skinned person with a master's degree usually has less employment opportunities or is less employable than a lighter skinned person who has a bachelor's. And it's not to say that like bullying is like, I know that hurts. Like it's like personal sentiment. I know that actually feels bad. But I think that it's important to remember when we're talking about whether racism or colorism or anything that's an ism, that there's an element of institutional power that is added on to the prejudice.
This is like a little game that we play where we attach it to power and privilege so that you invalidate the lived experiences of other people. So he said, I've been told that I'm not black enough. And they go, well, you're light skinned, so it doesn't even matter. Even though you are black, you are light skinned black. Therefore, you benefit from power and privilege, which makes your personal experience invalid. You cannot share that. We do not care about that. It's no longer colorism because you are represented in a group of people that have power. And it makes little to no sense considering, one, that guy is black, but two, that people who are considered powered and privileged often go through these experiences of being directly judged and experiencing pure prejudice and discrimination based.
Okay, I think I caught what she said. Okay. So the people in power experience issues. Is that what she's saying?
Yes.
Did I catch that? Okay. She's right. I just don't give a fuck. When Michael Dell speaks up, it's like, you know what? I pay way too much in property taxes. This is highway robbery. Okay. The person living in Section 8 housing who's deciding, do I get my kids medicine or do I keep my lights on? They can't hear Michael Dell's problems. In Michael Dell's world, those are actual problems. But for the person who's like, I've got diabetes, but my kid has XYZ disease. I only have $100 in my account to last me till the end of the month, which is 13 days away. How much of my... Okay, yeah, Michael Dell's got problems, but this person down here can't hear it.
Right.
For the people in power, your problems are your problems. And I'm not going to take away from it, but fuck you. Again, I've always said, think what you want to think, believe what you want to believe. But when you say what you want to say, you got to know your audience. Because the only people that are going to relate to Michael Dell problems are fellow billionaires. When Michael Dell sits the person down in Section 8 housing, it's like, do you have any idea how hard it is to maintain 5 houses in the south of France? Holy shit. That person's going to tell you to go fuck yourself. Now, the light-skinned person or the white person, whoever the fuck it is she's talking about with problems, you're right. They've got problems. And I recognize that they've got problems, and I'm going to allow them to have their space to have those problems. But you don't get to complain up here to the people down there, right? So again, I think I caught what she said, and I agree that everyone has problems. But when you're the people in power, the people without the power don't want to hear your fucking issues. They just don't.
Yeah, no, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, let's roll it.
On their skin color. It happens all the time. And if we're not going to validate the experiences of everyone who has evidence and proof that they've undergone an experience like this, then you don't really care about colorism. You only care about victimization and upholding that victimization.
I do feel
like
I
gotta roll
darker skinned people.
I gotta roll this back.
Two is valid. You cannot share that. We do not
on to the prejudice. These are as less employable. Like a darker skinned person with a master's degree usually has less employment opportunities or is less employable than a lighter skinned person who has a bachelor's.
Right.
And it's not to say that like bullying is like, I know that hurts. Like it's like personal sentiment. I know that actually feels bad. But I think that it's important to remember when we're talking about whether racism or colorism or anything that's an ism, that there's an element of institutional power that is added on to the prejudice.
Right.
This is like a little game that we play where we
pause the tape.
Power and privilege so that you
Go ahead.
Real fast. Again, what did Pink say that was not accurate?
Right, and this is something that, again, is like, you say this on your show all the time, talk to a sociologist if you really want the answer.
Right.
And this is what sociologists do, so that's exactly what Pink has done. Pink has done their homework and come up and said, hey, you know what? The sociologists have determined that what's really going on with these, institutional inequalities is the difference between a simple prejudice of, Cowboys fans pick on Giants fans and, racism or anti-Semitism or whatever it is that in those other situations, there is an element of institutional power, which is what allows the marginalized group, to be oppressed by the dominant group or the group with the privilege. And so that is just such a basic, definitional understanding of these things that it's like the fucking apologist. It's a weird version of what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then she wants to compare it to, well, that's not the case with autism or athleticism. You know what I mean? And it's like, are you serious? We know we're not, when we say isms, we know we're not talking about that. She is trying to trip up home, Pink on the word games of, they happen to elucidate the ISM. They said ISM, and that was where they fucked up. And that allowed her to take a hard turn. We're gonna go over here with this.
Yeah. There's nothing that Pink can say that Amala is going to agree with, and there's nothing Pink. And then again, all Pink has done up to this point has kicked the actuals and the factuals.
Yep.
And Amala is going to take that and wipe her booty hole with it. And if she sat there, if Pink had my background, and if Pink said, well, my grandfather was murdered by the Klan for, cutting black people down from trees after they've been lynched because my grandfather thought they should have dignified burials. Amala was like, I mean, what? Because a black person was hung, that's racism. There's nothing that Pink can say that Amala is going to take and there's nothing that Pink can say that Amala is going to respect. Because all Pink has done up to this point is kick nothing but facts. And Amala's sitting there wiping her booty hole with it.
Absolutely.
That's all we're seeing. Let's roll this crap.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, also, Fati said in the comment, she's making the argument that light-skin colorism is equal to dark-skin colorism, and it's not because the social and economic consequences they face are different. And that is 100% a valid point. Let's talk about it even within black folk, right? Like, maybe there's some comments and some jokes that are said, but for the most part, as I understand it, it's like there's lighter skin privilege within black folks, and the perception that comes with the shit like, oh, she thinks she cute, or da-da-da-da-da. And maybe on the extreme ends, like I said, I have some people in my family who could damn near pass. So maybe on the extreme end, they could tell some stories of, walking around towns a bit different if they're by themselves. But that's just not the reality of the situation because they're still black people. They're still in black families. And so just because we have light-skinned people in our family, we're not telling them they're not black. And all of a sudden, when they put their black names on their job applications and they go in for fucking interviews, nobody's gonna go, oh, I would have not hired them because they're black, but because they're light skinned, they're good to go. Like, are you serious? Yep. I mean, that's just not at all how this works. Not at all. Right?
Not at all.
And even in all these other, and here's the thing, so she's also trying to lean heavy on that, oh, well, you know, it's separate from, and she even liked to big up that, you know, in certain ways, because of our current racial context, it predates that, right? Yeah, okay.
Right.
But it always had that element of power, and it was always darkies at the bottom. Always. So what? So
but
what?
That's what I'm saying. Is she on purpose? Well, again, is she? Because I've heard younger black people make certain arguments, and it's like, is this information not being passed down to the younger black generations, millennials, Zs, alphas, whoever is in between? I don't know. I can't speak for a 25-year-old. I just can't do it. I don't have that vantage point. So I don't know. I don't know why she's kicking this bullshit.
Yeah, Carrie Ann also just pointed out that I paused her at a good dunce screen because she looks stupid. So, all right, we saved that screen capture right there. Yeah, man, this is great conversation, Uncle Bobby.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Appreciate
said,
you.
I've been told that I'm not black
Back
enough,
at you.
and they go, well, you know, you're light skinned, so it doesn't even matter. Even though you are black, you are light skinned black. Therefore, you benefit from power and privilege, which makes your personal experience invalid.
Nope,
You
it's
cannot
not the
share
message.
that. We do not care about that. It's
Not
no
the
longer
message.
colorism because you are represented in a group of people that have power, and it makes little to no sense considering. One, that guy is black, but two, that people who are...
Now, here's what I think actually happened in some of these cases. Let's take Tiger Woods, for example, or a Barack Obama. Sometimes there is a two-way thing happening here. People will start to bring to our attention so-and-such is actually mixed race. So-and-so is actually half Asian. Whatever it might be. It's the same thing with like The Rock, right? And what will happen is that person will like represent that other side of their culture. Right? that other part of, you know, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's fucking part of a Samoan dynasty, motherfucker. Yeah, he gonna rep that Samoan shit all day, every day. Right? You know, and so what happens is that's when, you know, there's an element to which they're not necessarily the sort of the typical black experience. And people notice that because there seems to, again, be an institutional way in which it's easier for people like that to get up in the game, right?
Yeah,
because,
but okay.
But I don't think that that's black people trying to say they're not black so much as black people are sometimes saying, but can we get some brothers from Jerome and Sherry in there too, because that's a thing. But I don't think we're trying to hate on our own black people. We're just trying to get everybody up in there. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm following to. I was trying to listen to what she had to say, and again, rewind that just a little bit, maybe a couple of seconds.
Are black. You are light-skinned black. Therefore, you benefit from power and privilege, which makes your personal experience invalid. You cannot share that. We do not care about that. It's no longer colorism because you are represented in a group of people that have power. And it makes little to no sense considering, one, that guy is black, but two, that people who are considered powered and privileged often go through these experiences of being directly judged and experiencing pure prejudice and discrimination based on.
All right.
Who is she talking about? Who is she talking about right there?
I think maybe she's kind of referring back to that black guy who identified as American. But she's in general, I think, maybe talking about herself. And she's basically just saying that people who are of lighter skin basically have their blackness, their experience denied because they have lighter skin. And what I'm saying is, for the most part, that prejudice is there, and it comes out in some of these people, even in prominent people, like in my examples being Tiger Woods, The Rock, Barack Obama. And what black people are trying to say is, yeah, and we're sort of using that as examples to say, hey, let's let in some right, they're acknowledged, they're kind of pointing it out, and then it's like they're using us, pointing it out against us, right, and saying, oh, but now you're saying the person isn't black. I'm like, no, we're not saying the person isn't black. Right.
So first and foremost, this is an issue that needs to be hammered out in our community.
100%.
Whoever the white dude is in this and on her show, he needs to check the fuck out.
100%.
Again, this is no different than you and I having a discussion on the difficulties of pregnancy. We don't belong in that conversation. But again, I think I'm following what you're saying, and I think I'm following what she's saying.
Sure.
Whatever power differential there is between dark-skinned black people and yellowhammers, again, that's something that needs to be hammered out between us and only us.
Right.
But if there's one thing that I remember from my childhood, whether you are as dark as a thumbprint or as light as Halle Berry, you're black.
Yes.
You're black.
100%.
You are black.
Yes,
and
yes.
You want to know how I know you're black?
Yes.
Because when your monkey ass is as dark as a thumbprint, when you fuck up, you're black. And as much as we loved Halle Berry and people who looked like Halle Berry in the 80s and the early 90s, if someone who had her skin tone would have stepped out of bounds, would have colored outside the lines,
right,
the world would have seen you as black.
Right.
So it is like you're so light-skinned, your hair is so good, you've got green eyes,
right,
and all the blase and the glaive.
Right.
As long as you are up here,
right.
Oh, we all should.
Black
people should have sex with white people, so we all look like that.
Right.
Let someone like that fuck up. What would the headlines been? Nigger Halle Berry.
Right.
This is a discussion and an issue that needs to be handled internally if we're on the same page.
Right.
And so he's right. White, light-skinned I'm talking as a Gen Xer.
Right.
Yellowhammers, yellow-skinned, red boat, they were and probably still are held up here while the rest of us were down there. But the one thing that we all have in common, the moment we fuck up, we're black. We're black, we're black, we're black, we're black.
Right.
We're black, we are black, we are black. And if you guys think I'm bullshitting, 2 words for you. George Floyd.
Right.
George Floyd was murdered in front of our eyeballs. George Floyd was murdered in front of our eyes. George Floyd was murdered in front of our eyes. Was George Floyd a saint? No, he was not. Would I let my daughter date someone with his character? No, I would not.
Right.
But what that man did 10, 15 years ago had nothing to do with him being choked to death like a goddamn stray dog in front of our eyes. You want to know why? When you fuck up, you're black. When you fuck up, you're black. They taught us that in the 1980s.
Absolutely.
And that message still rings true. And this is why people like Amala, again, I truly hope that she never has to deal with any racial hiccups.
Right.
Because this is someone who's going to have to learn the hard way. I don't even believe in luck, but I'm knocking on wood. People like this have to learn. Let her step out of bounds. Matt Walsh, they will leave that child high and dry. They will. I guarantee it.
Right.
And she's going to have to come back to the community that she shit on for help. Whether you're light-skinned or dark-skinned or whether you're somewhere in between. At the end of the day, you are black.
Right.
You are black.
Yeah.
So that whole diatribe was just sitting on some bullshit.
Yeah. And then there's some interesting stuff here too, because Whew. All right, so because we're thinking and conversing in real time, so I'm trying to put it together, right? And it's like it's exactly what we're talking about. The thing we're highlighting here is the internal conversation versus the external conversation. And what I really don't like about what she's doing is she is trying to flip the script on black people. And what's happening is when we call these things out, be it the privilege of lighter-skinned people within the black community or whatever it is, because it does happen in other cultures, so the Native Americans and the Indians, whoever's having the conversation, right? And I hate to say it, sometimes it's even within white European, right? Because it was certain ethnicities were darker skinned, right? And that was treated like a whole thing when y'all was having they beefs on the other side of the ocean. But the point is to say that especially when we had this conversation with black people, is that we're pointing out the way the colorism functions as like an external systematic source of prejudice, right?
Yep.
And now what she's trying to do is misrepresent that as an eternal critique so that she can basically saying black people are being racist within their own race. No, black people are calling out how the fucking racism and colorism that denigrates black people is so deep that even within how society treats black people, it treats people with white leaning or European leaning features and skin tone better than it treats other black people. And so even then when we have these shining examples of the inclusion of black people, it tends to favor the inclusion of black people with features that is not like full blackness. And so what black people are trying to say is include everybody, including the blackest of the black.
Absolutely.
That's all we're trying to say. Is let the blackest, treat the blackest of the black like you treat an Obama, a Woods, a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because to us, black is black and we don't give a shit. But since y'all are continuing to, the external communities continue to make this distinction, it continues to have a differential pressure. And so when we call that out, now you're using that against us. That's what's so fucked up here.
But that's it. But that's the deep-seated. This is how far this conversation goes back. And that's why I'm saying I don't know if the younger generations are being taught this.
Right.
Because again, this is a fight within our own community. To where if, again, I was black long before Wesley Snipes made that shit cool. And like I told you, I grew up deformed where even black people looked at my fuller lips and my big ass. It doesn't matter whether I'm 260 or 220. My ass is the size of a Thanksgiving Day turkey. And I was terrorized by my own people. We have internalized
the
bullshit.
Right.
And you're right. Again, it does not matter. If you're black, you're black, you're black, you're black. If you're black, you're black. If I didn't say it, let me say it again. If you're black, you are black.
Right.
Tiger Woods is black.
100%.
Halle Berry is black.
100%.
Wesley Snipes
100%.
is black. You are black. The squid is black.
Right.
I am black.
Right.
And again, if you think I'm bullshitting, let any of us step the fuck out of line. We are black.
Right. Absolutely.
We are black. But
Absolutely.
we have internalized this external standard.
Right.
You remember that scene in Malcolm X? Again, this is what I'm saying. When people, this is not a movie. This is reality. In the very beginning, when he subjected his hair to those archaic perms, and it was burning. It was burning. You guys remember? It's burning. It's burning.
Yep.
It's burning. And everyone in the barber shop was laughing, right? And he even put his head in the turlet to get the perm out of his hair.
Oh, right.
And all the pain. And he sat there. And remember, it's like, woo.
Yes.
It looks white, don't it?
Yeah.
It's white, don't it? we have internalized an external standard
Yes.
to the point to where we hate ourselves.
Yes.
And here's the fucked up thing, though, gang. And I got to go here in a little bit. But I want
You're
to make
good,
sure I
you're
get
good.
this out. If PragerU was even to see our meager ass channel and they saw two dark ass brothers going against her, she's already correct. She's light-skinned it.
Right.
And again, for those of you who think that this is yesterday's problems, you're wrong.
Right.
Because my analogy still stands. If on January the 1st, I walk up to you completely unprovoked and I slap the taste out of your mouth, that's on the 1st. Then on the 7th, I come up and say, hey, let's go have some drinks. You're going to flinch when you see me. You're probably not going to trust large, broad-shouldered black dudes. That's just if I slap one person across the face. We have been here since 1619, being slapped across the face every day, being told the darker you are, the uglier you are, the less worth that you have. So when people like Amala is like, oh, that was yesterday, racism is over. Blah, 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 blah. Stop it. Stop it.
Right.
This fight is still going on. And no matter how much she says it's not, it is. And again, you and me, we are already wrong because you and I are dark as shit. And look at her good-looking ass. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
With my history, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this child in with my personal and romantic history. I'm looking at my daughter. I'm looking at my daughter.
Wow, that's deep.
I'm looking at my
I feel
kid.
you on that.
And you're just
I
like,
feel you on that.
roll a little bit more.
Yeah, all right. I got one more thing for you.
Yeah,
Here's the other thing. She's feeding right into something that is bothering me, man. I have been around some conservative lingo, and let's just take a conversation like the N-word that comes up. Well, why is it so offensive? I mean, people are choosing to be offended by it. I don't know why you're choosing to be. I mean, I'm not offended when people say cracker. Now, listen, let me tell you something. I know you. Okay, there's a history, black people, slavery, N-word. Okay, I get it. But look, my people were slaves too. You don't know what white people were slaves? Yeah. Well, my group were slaves too for a couple years, right? Like you go through this song and dance where they're trying to broaden the conversation so that it includes, well, really, racism is something that everybody's been affected by negatively. Really, colorism is really, right, just distinguishing people based on skin color. Now, let's toss out Pink's, institutional power requirement. Let's toss out the actual hierarchy that it creates, right? Because those don't fit her narrative. Having to tie it to institutional power undermines her narrative. Having to say, let's talk about colorism, it creates not just differences based on skin color, but hierarchies based on skin color. And those hierarchies are always blackies at the bottom. She doesn't want that to happen. So instead she wants to go, no, it's just talking about color. And then that's why now the door is wide open to, well, everybody experiences this. Light-skinned people experience it too. People in power experience it too. And then that feeds right into the same narratives of the people who want to say it's okay to use this or that word or overlook, historical oppression because, every once in a while somebody doesn't like somebody who's light-skinned and that's bad too. And she has to start to see how they're trying to wield her narrative in part of this larger right-wing permissiveness. And I think she's missing that.
My problem with that argument, every time I hear someone say, well, this group was treated like shit, that group was treated like shit, then why aren't you upset? It's okay.
Right.
Just be okay.
Wow, exactly.
Okay. Well,
exactly.
You know that Irish people were slaves too. Then why aren't Irish people pissed the fuck off?
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you were treated like shit, so I was treated like shit. So let's just drop it. No, let's correct it.
Right.
Every time I hear that crap,
Wow, that's a really great point.
You know, this group was treated like trash. Women didn't get right to do this. These people, Japanese, were treated like shit. What about the Native Americans? I've got a great idea. Why don't we all raise the fuck up and fight the power that be? It's like when I sit here and when I hear when they show the videos of black people being hurt by cops, and they're like, "Whoa, what about the white person?" Then why aren't white people upset too?
Right.
Just because you got butt fucked and I got butt fucked, it doesn't negate the fact that we were both butt fucked. So every time I hear that garbage, that this group was oppressed, just like black people, just like Japanese people, just like Chinese, just like the Native Americans,
Right.
then why don't we all join forces? But stop telling me, stop complaining,
Right.
because that group over there was screwed over. It's like Christianity.
Right.
Right? Well, Robert, that was the Old Testament, and that made it okay. Do you know how many gay people have been tortured over the millennia because of one funky ass verse in the fucking Bible? Well, Jesus came to die for our sins, but you still need to explain the millions, the countless gay people who have been tortured literally to death. You don't get to dismiss it just because it's the Old Testament. You're right. Black people have been screwed over.
Yeah.
And you're right. Irish people have been screwed over. Native Americans have been screwed over. Asian people have been screwed over.
Right.
Everyone's been screwed over. It doesn't make that person suffering any less just because that person over there that got the whip too.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was just a bullshit ass argument. I hate it when people say that.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. But yeah, I'm seeing some of these things, and I genuinely don't know if she sees how her narrative is used in this bigger picture. I don't think right
she cares.
now it
Or
feels
maybe
like yeah. Right now she just feels enthusiastic about shitting all over the left, right?
I think she is enthusiastic on the fact that her bank account gets direct deposit at least twice a month.
Right.
From PragerU. Because again, just imagine. I mean, motherfuck me, who am I? What if Matt Dillahunty? What if Aaron Raw? What if Mandisa Thomas? What if Mandisa Thomas turned around and said, why the fuck am I an atheist again? Me, Mandisa Thomas. I'm a Christian. Do you know what kind of money and if you guys don't know who Mandisa Thomas is, look her up. That magnificent queen is fucking phenomenal. But what if Mandisa Thomas flipped the script and said, I'm a Christian now? She would be the next Amala.
Right.
So again, yeah, her resume screams Dennis Prager. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, they love it.
On their skin color. It happens all the time. And if we're not going to validate the experiences of everyone who has evidence and proof that they've undergone an experience like this, then you don't really care about colorism. You only care about victimization and upholding that victimization.
I do feel like when darker skinned people...
Real fast. I just looked in the side chat real fast. I want to address this before I have to go.
Sure.
I used the word faggot and butt fuck. Yes, I did use those terms. Now, so here's the thing. When I use those kind of terms, I'm using it for a reason. Right? It's to get people's attention. I'm very well aware what both of those terms suggest, and I want people to wake the fuck up. And I use the word faggot because that's what I was literally taught to call gay people when I was a Christian. You want to know why? Because if I didn't use that term, that meant I didn't love them. I had to jar my gay people out of apathy. I don't want them to go to hell. So I use those terms for a reason. If I'm answering this question,
yeah, and I think earlier you use it as an example of a thing you used to say but you don't say anymore, right?
I do not.
Normally when I hear you reference these things, at most it's a reference to like, why are Republicans mad that somebody has gay sex, right? And that'll be sometimes how you refer to, oh no, this dude was busting down the booty holes of his choir boys or whatever, or of altar boys or whatever, right? You're not using it as a slur. You're not saying, I think this is bad. You're saying, I don't understand why these people so you said two things. One, you used to use this type of language and you don't anymore. And then two, you'll use it as an example of the attitude of people who you're criticizing.
And I just got some, and I do apologize for the person in the chat. Yes, I meant no harm.
Yeah,
and I acknowledge that word does sting. And to you, I 100% apologize. But when I use those terms, it is definitely to wake people up, because I don't think that died off with Generation X Christian, that you use that phrase to jar people out of apathy because you love them so much you don't want them to go to hell. But for the person in the side chat, I 5,000% apologize to you. I meant absolutely no harm by that term, but that's what it is I was taught to say. I'm 5,000% an ally. I use that term to get people's attention. But to you, I do apologize. That was not a slur. In case you're on the LGBTQ family member tip, I'm with you, and I meant no harm. So to you, I do apologize.
Yeah. Also, I think chat's new to our community, so I think we're all just getting used to each other. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for addressing that.
Yeah.
Express their frustration to lighter skinned people that their lives might be different, harder. I think you sort of have to acknowledge your privilege, you know, or else it's very ignorant. Even though we're both Black.
What specifically does that mean? Like, I've had experiences in my life that have not been great, and I can assume that it's because of the color of my skin, right? We talk about these ideologies, right, which I think we get lost in sometimes, and we have to just bring it back to reality of like, well, let's talk about your situation for a second.
Right.
How has it affected you specifically? And the answers that you get are, I didn't get an apartment, I didn't get a job, I didn't get that promotion, which happens to everybody, right? They can always talk about somebody else and what happens in history.
Pause the tape. And on this one, I have to go.
You're good.
He's right. It does happen to everybody. Just like police brutality happens to everybody. Just like corporal punishment happens to everyone in schools. Death penalty happens to everybody. But you have to look at the frequency by which it happens. He's right.
Right.
White people are turned down for jobs. White people get beat up by cops. You just run the gamut. He's right. It does happen to everybody. Now you have to look at the frequency by which it happens to people. Then you have to look at how the foundation of this country was built. And again, I'm just like Christianity. I don't think I was ever nice on this topic because I've experienced this type of crap.
Right.
Stop it. Stop it. Again, stop acting like what happened in 1619, 1719, 1819, 1919, and 2019. Stop acting like that does not affect us today. Like I said, the Crown Act literally just became a topic of conversation. Me and Bundy and people like us had to have legal protection for what grows out of our face and hair naturally. I'm going to say that again because I don't think you guys heard me.
Ridiculous.
If I had a daughter, a son, and if they decided to grow cornrows or dreads, because that's the way their hair grows naturally, they needed legal protection. And we've got examples of kids not being allowed to compete in sports because of their hair, not being allowed to walk the stage because of their hair. We've had valid Victorians who are not able to give a speech at their high school graduation because of the texture of their hair.
Right.
So let's stop acting like this is 5 trillion years ago in the past. Stop it. Stop acting like black people. Again, our former president was successfully sued for housing discrimination. Last time I brought this up, there was some fuckface in the side chat. Save it. I don't want to hear it. His company put a letter C
absolutely
on the applications of black people trying to buy apartments. That
Literally.
C stood for colored. So again, that dude with the glasses, he's dancing for butter biscuits, just like Amala is.
A bunch of them are. Yeah, it's really weird.
Acting like this stuff isn't real. Dude, we got to finish that tape. We
can do a part two.
Tape.
We can do part two. We can keep it going. We can keep it rolling. We can go. Yeah, that's a great idea.
If you are free on Tuesday, I say let's rock and roll.
Oh, are you free during the week? Yeah.
On
Fuck
Tuesday,
it. Let's do it.
Let's finish this up because this is a stroke-inducing episode, and this is some good stuff. But we need to tackle stuff like this.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. All right, I'm with it. Let's do it. We'll come back. We'll do a special episode on Tuesday. Let's do it, man.
Perfect.
Have a great day. Appreciate you.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
All right, awesome. All right, gang, appreciate you. We're going to end this one, and we'll be back. Hot program should be starting in just a few minutes. So you can come link up with us in the cafe if you'd like. Link is in the description on my channel. If you're on Uncle Bobby's channels, plan to come head over and check out Hot Program on Pocket Locker 86. Otherwise, we'll see you all on Tuesday for a special episode of The Blackout where we'll finish this up. Thank you all so much for tuning in. In the name of Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. Poof!
Just gotta focus on yourself out here, y'all. Pay too much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. It's bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you know what you gotta do, then do it. You're always making excuses, we ain't got time for no excuses. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. You niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. Young nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zones. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never change how my niggas from Potters. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no options. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave they family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you.
It's no competition. You niggas be lying about how you be feeling. Saying you Jordan, you not even Pippin. Or Rodman when he was with Pistons. You blondie, you lying about all of your visions. Your paper be short like some midgets. I used to step out and just worry about digits. And now I just focus my visions. I had to distance myself from some people cause they just be holding you back. I wasted some time, I never get back. Like why I do that? You niggas be bitching, it's just to be seen and put on the map. I only know some niggas who know how to spin up a check and get it right back.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition.
Gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy. That